as I lowered the volume a little bit because it is kind of loud on my end. 18 February, 12:52 p.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. What on earth just happened in there?
Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened.
Mr. Sato.
I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke.
A smoke grenade? It sounds like the sort of thing ninjas use.
They're just making sure everyone is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long.
Before long. But who would have done something like that?
The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently.
That's not good. Flee the courtroom? Why?
Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear.
A young girl? Then could it be the other passenger that Mr. McGilded was just talking about?
My thoughts exactly.
So he wasn't lying. Oh, what's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here. Nico has become a ninja.
I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl.
Who is she, I wonder? We're about to find out. And what was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk. And for what possible benefit to herself?
There's another matter that's troubling me.
What's that?
The 20 pence.
Oh,
According to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence exactly.
But now it seems there were in fact 5 passengers.
Which means the figures don't seem to add up again.
She's right. That is strange. Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed into the courtroom. The trial will recommence in 5 minutes. Oh, thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away.
Well, whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial.
Well, we'll know soon enough, Mrs. Sato.
Yes.
Well, this trial's about to turn into the circus. 18th of February, 1 o'clock p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. There she is! She here! Along with him. There's the young girl next to McGilded. Look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before.
Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Zeeks.
My lord.
I believe you have established the cause of the smoke which veiled proceedings earlier?
It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade of the sort typically employed by the army.
Good gracious, the army? What in the devil's name?
It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught. And now occupies the stand.
Your name, girl? Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom? What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior?
If I may, my lord.
Yes, Mr. McGilded.
I think perhaps I ought to explain here why it is that this wee lass here in the first place, and why she tried to bolt like that. It is all tied up with the events of that night, so it is.
Very well, Mr. McGilded. Give your testimony.
Oh yes, you give the testimony, but not her.
You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in this case.
Bark, bark, go, my doggo. Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. Poor Naruto. The young girl. On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Then began a loud thud, and a wee scream woke me up from a fast start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at me feet, and I sat him up on the seat across from me. Then I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. Doggo, sorry.
I remain somewhat baffled, I confess. But from what I gathered on the night in question, this young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus. Is that correct?
'Tis exactly as the defense counsel said. This lass was fifth passenger, my lord.
Very well. Your defense may now cross-examine the witness, and please ignore the dog that is barking within the courtroom. Are you ready, counsel?
Yes, my lord. Or rather, no. I have no idea where to start. The young girl. Alright. I don't like this already. And when you first got onto the omnibus, were there any other passengers already on board? There were not. The cabin was empty and there was no one on the roof deck either.
You were the first passenger, as it were, I see.
Aye, and that's why I took the backside as I did. 'Tis the most comfortable, so it is. Could you explain exactly what you mean by the back seat? By all means. 'Tis how you already described it earlier. I'm talking about the seat opposite the one in which the poor gentleman was stabbed was sitting. Like I said, 'tis the most comfortable and where I feel most at ease. Because you're not being watched, sir? And of course, I enjoy gazing through the skylight from time to time as well. Which you could do from the other side, but sure. Hold it! A loud thud, you say, and a scream. Aye, that's right. How can I explain it? 'Twas like the sound of someone falling to the ground. That sort of noise. So you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor, having been stabbed? Oh my god, my dogs, please! Well now, you'll remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. And when the sound woke me and I opened my eyes, there wasn't a soul to be seen in the carriage but the fella on the floor. You didn't see anyone. But at the same moment, you did hear a scream.
Ah, from the seat above you on the roof deck, I presume.
Not above me, no, my lord. 'Twas from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by the desperate sight before me eyes. Hold it! You sat him up? The victim, you mean? That I did. On the seat across from me, as I said. I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. And you wouldn't leave a dead man just lying on the floor now, would you? 'Tis common courtesy, so it is. What a nice man. I find that a little hard to believe. Oh, Lord Radziggs. Why would that be? You wake to find a man lying dead at your feet in a carriage, Any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is.
Well now, as you know, I'm in something of a special line of business. The business of lending money at exorbitant rates of interest. Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer them, and some would even see me dead. So I do try where at all possible to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble.
Are you suggesting you were just going to leave the man there?
Oh, heavens alive, no! I was always intending to report it, so I was. Only, I had a mind to find out the whys and wherefores first.
The whys and wherefores?
Right you are. There were some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddling.
So you wanted to meddle?
That wee scream I heard, for example.
Wouldn't your good self do just the same? Yes. The scream he says he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim collapsing.
Hold it!
I'm afraid I don't understand. I'm sure you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim.
So I did, sir, so I did. As far as I could see, that is.
What do you mean by that?
Well now, 'tis a queer thing. The wee scream I heard as I woke up. It came from, if you'll excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside.
The good gracious!
Under your backside?
And when I lifted the seat on which I've been sitting, I found there was a wee cubbyhole there for storage.
Mr. Naruhodo, we can examine the omnibus ourselves, remember? Yes, of course. The whole bus was submitted as evidence. This would be a very good time to have a thorough look around inside. Sure. Let's do that. Let me in! There's blood on the floor now. That's blood, isn't it? Is something wrong? Oh, it's just... Well, this bloodstain is so obvious, that's all. And yet, Van Ziek has made no mention of it. I suppose that does seem a little strange. Why do I have such a bad feeling about this? I know we did this the night before, but that blood was definitely not there. The seat has a handle, it seems. There's nothing in there now. This is a storage compartment, but there's nothing in here. It's totally empty. Something doesn't seem right here, but I can't put my finger on what it is. God, this is what I mean when this case is about to get real weird. I don't think I can do anything with the skylight. So I guess, alright then. Okay, we have some new stuff that's in the omnibus that I'm pretty sure was not there before, but it's fine. And that's when I found her. Good for you. Good for you, McGilded.
Hold it!
You say she was hiding herself.
Aye, that's right. 'Twas hard to see in the dim lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball when our eyes met. Well, me heart nearly stopped beating in me chest.
Ugh, you're really overreacting this.
Still in all, I pulled her out from under there and sat her on the seat opposite so I could have a wee chin wag with her.
The seat opposite.
That's right, just next to the dead gentleman there.
Oh, that's great!
You set this young girl next to a corpse, sir?
Well, as I'm sure I mentioned, a gentleman in my position can all too often find himself in mortal danger. So, I needed to find out who this urchin was, you see.
And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream. A fellow's voice this time. Presumably, that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats. Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down through the skylight, he must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with the knife in his belly.
In other words, the previous witness did not, in fact, see you at all, Mr. McGilded. What they believed to be yourself and the victim was, in fact, the girl and the late Mr. Mason?
Aye, me lord. I think everyone understands now, sat at the back of the carriage out of sight. So very convenient, sir. I don't believe any shit from you.
It is certainly possible. The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and readily confused, perhaps with this young girl.
Well, after that, of course. With the scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses.
Thank you. I've heard enough. The events as explained are clear in my mind. However, at least one conundrum remains. Who is the girl?
Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. Or is it Lestrade? She's a chancer. Earns her crust among large crowds relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. What?
This girl here? A petty thief?
Order! Order!
Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question.
Would that count as an assault?
How dare you? What is the meaning of this? Ah! The girl! She's gone!
Open your eyes! I'm over here.
Good gracious, how?
What was the point in that little sidestep? Oh, our theme. I know what you lot are thinking. Grown-ups are all the same. This dirty little dipper, you'll say, slipped up and got caught up on the job. She got herself backed in a corner, so she knifed the gent. Go on, that's what in your heads, ain't it? No, not at all. This is a court of law. We're here to determine the... Ah! Green's not a good color for Naruto. Oh, Gina, your lines are gonna be crazy. Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need for what I do is these fingers. I'm a professional, alright? Maybe not in your eyes, but I got pride in what I do. Oh, Gina's gonna be tough. Let me guess. You don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs? Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag I lifted the other day down where they keep the four-wheel drags. It's nice, isn't it? I like the pink best.
Ah, don't not wave that thing in my direction again!
Pretty sure that should be confiscated. So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question. "'Tis all right, lass. You can tell him the truth now." "All right, yeah. Just like the Irishman said."
The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in the case. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what happened in the omnibus on the night in question.
All right, if I have to. Okay, what the girl saw. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hook up the horses, just like always. But it's right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I'll tell you, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. And then after a while, I hear this loud bang. Nearly jumped out me skin, I did. And the scream just came out. It's because of that, this swell found me. It did help me out get away, mind. Gina, okay. Gina. Yes, he let you go.
I fail to understand why you would let this street urchin go, Mr. McGilded. Why you would?
Oh, 'tis simply itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly have killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact. How? As I'm sure I said before, sir. I was sitting on top of the place where she was hiding herself.
I think a demonstration is called for.
This is where I sat that night.
And the cubbyhole of which you have spoken is underneath this seat, I presume. Yes, it does appear just large enough to accommodate someone of the girl's stature.
Aye, but of course, the wee lass was stuck in there. Because I parked myself on the seat on the duration.
Ah,
So you see, that's why I let the lass boat. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined when all the time I knew she was innocent.
even though you must have realized your action would result in your own innocence being called into question?
Not at all, my lord, not at all. I knew in my own heart that I was innocent. So I thought it was worth taking a punt of on my own good name for the sake of this less fortunate lass. My goodness. What a perfect gentleman. My lord, this fine example of a man cannot possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. I'm ashamed of myself for ever doubting you, sir. Man, you guys are easily, convinced. Jurors. With calm, calculating reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Lemonade.
Saints alive! All 6 members of the jury consensual in their leaning to a verdict of not guilty? Rubble, 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 rubble.
Mr. Naruhodo, well, it must mean what? That we're victorious. We've won? Are you sure?
Objection!
There it is! The leg! The leg is up! The leg has been signaled! If the sight of my iron here Wellington offends, pray do forgive the discourtesy. The leg has arrived! This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices. Where evidence and reasoning should be paramount, emotion rules the day. Emotion? The witness's latest statement gives us a clear insight into his true nature. What do you mean, his true nature? Did you really think Scotland Yard would have made such a glaring omission? After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witness put it, was included in their investigation. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of coachman's belongings. It's noted in black and white here in the police report.
Good Lord!
The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGildic's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from under the seat. What?
Order! How could such a devious contrivance possibly have been effected, Counsel?
Naturally, we must acknowledge the deficiencies of the constabulary in allowing this to have happened. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. Well, my Nipponese friend. Me? When the carriage was submitted as evidence, doubtless you examined it in fine detail, as would any self-respecting practitioner of the law. Pray, what did you find the condition of the underseat compartment to be?
Oh, to be sure, the young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy.
Sorry?
Go ahead. Tell the court now, fella. How is it all an elaborate excuse by the desperate Lord Van Zeeks?
Well, Counsel, do you have something to say on this matter?
Here it is, the first really messed up thing. How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the state of that little compartment under the seat in the omnibus? Yes, I'm fairly sure it was empty. But what else can I say? As I suspected. It seems, my lord, that this Eastern initiate has the scruples of a by-street wine merchant.
Mr. Naruhodo! Perfect! This is why the fella is representing me, after all. He knows just what to say, does he not? Well now, it would seem the argument is moot.
Now, the reason why I wanted to save there is because I want to see what the other options are. Because I'm too honest, and I'm going to be straight up and be like, there was definitely stuff in it. Sorry, I'm a failure. I didn't look. But I couldn't lie and pretend that I had. Perhaps I credit you with too much intelligence. It seems, my lord, that this Eastern initiate is as unreliable as wine from the barrel. All these wine comparisons. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna I just wanted to see what happens if you give the wrong answers. Alright! Well, no, it doesn't matter. They're all technically correct answers. You can answer however you want. But me, being the person who likes to create chaos, I'm going to go with that it wasn't empty. I really don't know if giving this answer is helping my cause as counsel for the defense. But as far as I remember, at least. When I first examined the compartment, I'm fairly certain there were a number of articles inside it. Yes.
Are you sure, Counsel? Bewitched. What are you saying now, you daft doll? I thought you were on my side here.
I'm on the side of the truth, buddy. I mean, Naruhodo hasn't figured that out yet, but I'm on the side of the truth. What game are you playing at? Your task is to defend the man in the stand. Why would you say something to compromise his position? As the advocate for the defense in this trial, I confess I'm still not entirely sure where I stand. But it seems to me that I should state what facts I do know as clearly and honestly as possible. Interesting. Deal with it, McGilded. 'Tis not altogether pleasing, fella. I'm simply telling the truth, Mr. McGilded.
Well, don't forget that you're supposed to be representing my best interest here, lad. Now then. A fella's memory is a curious thing, and not altogether reliable. No, the court must consider the facts. That there crump behold under the seat is as empty as the devil's heart, so it is. Do you think perhaps it would be in your best interest now to admit that you might have been mistaken?
No! Why? Why do I feel like something's not right here?
I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think.
That compartment is designed to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the carriage. The Guild's rules state that omnibuses should be properly and fully equipped at all times. So it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. That Monday lending fleecer and the pick purse are lying.
I can't believe I was nearly taken in. The stinking rich are always stinkers. Nothing but cowards, the lot of them.
What? Oh no.
It's a trick. Of course it's a trick.
Quite so. I must concur here. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Yes, but every time a different truth, it seems. My lord, I humbly exhibit the scales of justice. Clearly, a verdict of not guilty at this time would be wholly inappropriate.
Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is the matter of the outstanding cross-examination. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witness, please.
Yes, my lord. What just happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted almost beyond recognition. We've become the circus, Naruhodo. We've become the circus. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem. Okay. Oh, and the music's picked up. Okay, that's cool. So, you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's the point of spending a joey to make a few bob, eh? That's a rum idea, innit?
I suppose she means there's no point spending to make money. It actually makes sense.
Counsel, may I remind you that this girl is a petty thief? Kindly refrain from entertaining her tenants. Well, that does clear up the little mystery of the fares and all. 4 paying customers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20 to which the cabman testified. And 1 little scapegrace riding for free. The red conch of a driver always goes for some grub before its last run, see? So that's when I slipped into the carriage and get myself eaten under the seat. Nice and easy, right?
But your hiding place is a storage compartment, full of equipment for the coach, no?
Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck all that out and cram it in a corner somewhere.
What corner?
No one ever seems to bother much.
What corner, though? And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia? Big words, and then you have Gina with her accents. Ugh.
Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell ya.
It seems we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Continue.
Hold it!
A waste of time. Why is that?
Well, most nights on me own in the guard permit at least some of the time.
I beg your pardon? Did you say God permit?
Oh yeah, well, that's what my kind call it. You'd say the omnibus, I suppose. The point is, any normal run, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while.
And that's when you come out of your hiding place and get away.
That's right. Only that night, this cove was sat on me from the start. And he didn't budge the whole way, did he? Not 1 inch. I was totally stuck.
Do you mean to tell us that you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seat the entire time while events unfolded in the enclosed cabin?
Yeah. Right, mister? To be sure, I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift the cushion you've sat on and find a child now, do you?
So this Miss Lestrade couldn't possibly be the culprit then. We can confirm that at least, but now the question is, how do we get to the part where we figure out the culprit, which I'm pretty sure is the guy over next to her? So you couldn't see out into the cabin at all?
Not a jot. Most days I push the cushion up with me head and look out the crack. Then I could have butchers at who I'm going to fiddle.
I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. You know, I'm starting to understand my non-English speakers, my non-native English-speaking friends struggling with this game now. No, they did really good showing the accents, the different accents of the characters, but if you're not a native English speaker, this might seem really tough to understand what is going on or what they're saying.
I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other one, see? So most of the time, the passengers plant themselves opposite. But for some reason that night, this here Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head.
And for that reason, you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out. I see.
Truth is, I ain't too happy in small dark places. Feels too much like being thrown in the clink. But it's the only place to hide in them carriages, so it's Obson's choice.
Why doesn't she just stick to picking people's pockets and open then? 17. I'd say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor.
So anyways, I was a bit scared. But I had to stick it out there, under there. Nothing else for it.
Hold it!
When you say a loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor?
Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember as what so well. Point is, it made me jump.
And you let out a scream, involuntarily.
That's right. And then I felt the cushion over me head get light all of a sudden.
Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes? Yes. Or not. It could equally have been the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not?
Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment?
Yeah, I saw it.
What, you did?
I pushed up the cushion and had a quick look butchers while I had the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up the bloke who had fallen on the seat, on the floor, on the seat opposite. Help! That matches Mr. McGilder's account, of course. But then the fella suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was too late by then. I could never risk looking. I should have never risked looking. Hello? Hello?
Hold it!
And when Mr. McGill discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place.
I was scared stiff, I was. He dragged me out and sat me down on the seat and all.
Next to the victim, Mr. Mason.
Yeah, the bloke had a knife in his guts. He was still bleeding. Then the carriage lurched a bit and he ended up falling on me. Oh, how awful. Both me hands got covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog.
Oh, Gina. I have almost out of lemonade and I'm sad. Both her hands covered in blood. That must be what the passengers saw. And after that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilda for a while. Is that correct?
He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know me name and what I was up to and that. Then I heard something up from above. Someone screamed.
Yes, Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume.
No, I'm out of lemonade after this cup.
Well, I didn't want no one seeing me face, so I didn't look up. Then the horses were drawn up smartish. And this here Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I'll see that you get away later."
All 6 members of the jury had decided the defendant was innocent. For one brief shining moment, yes. It's clear that they are all still very unsure. If we could just find some conclusive piece of evidence among this new testimony, I'm sure we would cinch the verdict we want. Yes, I think you're right. And I had this niggling feeling. Something's bothering me, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. I think I have to present the omnibus to something. Snuck inside the carriage before they look up the horses. It was right, a waste of time. In the blind place. Then after a while I hear this loud bang, nearly jumped skin. Find me to help me get away. Oh, whoops. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to present here. I'm thinking, don't mind me. My armband is the answer. I stuck inside the carriage before they looked up. They hooked up the horses. It was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show. I tell you, you can't see a blind thing in a hiding place. It's pitch in there. I think there's something here I have to present, and I'm trying to remember. It was a loud bang. I nearly jumped in my skin. Oh my god. What is the loud bang? Do I present the omnibus? See anything out of the cabin?
Well, now.
Did I not press this? Sir?
Excuse me.
I was wondering what was going on there. Is something wrong, Mr. McGilded? Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel? I'm just wondering if Miss Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. Yeah, because I was sitting here like, I don't remember I needed to present anything. I think McGilded's reacted. I was like, what? You seem to be thinking, but I remember pressing it because I remember saying the butcher stuff. Did I just not notice McGilded react or what? You seem to be thinking something to yourself. Oh, no. 'Twas nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass, is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. 'Twas terrifying, so it was. I see. Yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now. Oh! Baby! Well, I shouldn't say that. I still use a nightlight, so... I don't know about yourself, but I find that darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Yeah. I suppose it does, maybe. Miss Lestrade, did you hear something that night? Anything? An unusual noise, perhaps? Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. Bejabbers! There's no need to tell the whole world of my foibles, you little scamp. What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue. Yes. What should we make of that last statement of hers? It's profoundly important. You know what? If I'm given the option, if I'm given that option, I'm just gonna be like, it's important. My lord, I believe the statement just made by the witness is profoundly important.
Profoundly important? But all she said was that she heard nothing.
Yes, which is the profoundly important point. I'm almost sure of it.
I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of your Eastern mind, Counsel. Nonetheless. Miss Gina Lestrade, you will supplement your formal testimony by repeating that last statement, please.
What? Supplement? What are you on about? Don't give me all your fancy talk. I know what you're trying to do. Well, it won't work on me. That's right. Insult the judge. Always a good move. I was straining my ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snoring.
Hold it!
So you were straining to hear what was happening the entire time, since the moment you hid yourself. Not exactly, no. Sorry? Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the cushion up and have a butcher to see what was what. But then, when I saw this swell getting on, I got my head down and he didn't notice me. And Mr. McGildick sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct? Yeah! Would you add or leave it, eh? What a mug. So then all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out of there as soon as I heard him leave, see? But would he? Not likely. Even though he stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So I just had to stay put and listen to him driving it. Wow! Wow! So I just had to stay put and listen to him driving his pigs to market, snoring like an old dog he was. That was intense. That was really intense. I think that doesn't add up. Baby slaps! Miss Lestrade, what you have just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts.
At odds? Are you sure, man?
Absolutely. It seems my learned Nipponese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Zeeks realized it too. That's not possible, right? Because there were two passengers in the seat, right?
Counsel, I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence or some complicit party's name at the very least.
Yes, my lord.
I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court.
According to Miss Lestrade, while she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Mr. McGildick snoring. But think, Ryanosuke, think. Double slap. There's something else she should have heard. She should have heard another person. Mr. Mason, what happened? Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on the night in question. The sound very clearly explained by the presence of the following person.
Take that!
Thrice fired, Mason?
Yes, my lord. The sound that Miss Lestrade cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus.
Order! Explain your reasoning, counsel.
Miss Lestrade, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person on board the omnibus. Is that correct? Yeah, of course I was. I got on while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? And the next person to board the omnibus was Mr. McGilded? Aye, it was. Not a soul was in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least, not in plain sight. So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at that time. Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I saw him get on, remember? Through the crack under the seat cushion. He was on his own for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. During which time did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? Nah, I never heard it. That's exactly what I was listening for, wasn't it? Waiting for this swell to leave. I just love how he keeps calling him a swell. In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage? We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did or did not hear is at odds with the facts. Yes, this petty thief's statement was clearly flawed.
Lord Van Zeeks.
Yes, he knew. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Miss Lestrade's statement. It would seem words of thanks are in order for my learned friend. What are you talking about? You have demonstrated manners impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruths, nothing more. Murder, 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 murder. He's dead right. How could the victim possibly not have boarded the omnibus? That makes no sense whatsoever. And the girl is a pickpocket. Let's not forget that. Oh, Granny! She didn't even say anything.
I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she has some rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars.
And neither can I. Mr. Foreman, I didn't want to judge the girl just because she has some less than souberish ways, but I must say, I cannot abide liars. You just copied what she said. Foreman, you're just a copycat. I mean, you probably should have seen this coming, Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo, that's 5 jury members leaning towards guilty. I'm gonna need some fine wine for this. Well, your consideration for others is refreshing, my Nipponese friend. to the considerable troubles you have spared me. Wow, he actually took a drink. Yes, very refreshing. Ah! He took a toast.
Girl, what are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for, you useless Eastern Adaman? Amadon? A useless Eastern Amadon?
This is carnage. It's perfect. Oh my god, this juror. Juror number 2 is the only one left.
Mr. Naruhodo, the way this is going,
I know, if we can't find some new way to convince everyone of Mr. McGillicud's innocence, the judge will rule and we'll have lost.
I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respected gentlemen, but those of us in service know we must accept hard truths.
Hold it!
Sir! Yes, the witness' last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case. What are you saying?
Counsel!
I'm sorry, sir? Whatever do you mean?
Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to prorogue my adjudication. Explain yourself at once.
When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand.
And yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage.
Wait, what am I... If this petty thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus? Yeah, I figured it was an Irish insult, but it just was like... It just threw at me and I was like, hello? There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage. He was already in there, he was put there after he died? There was another entrance? Wait, which one is it? He was already... There's another entrance, he was put there after he died. I'm gonna go with... Is it that one? Obviously, the victim must have been placed in the carriage after he was killed.
Objection!
Tell me, my learned friend, what was the function of that obviously in your last sentence?
Well said, Lord Van Zeeks. The obviously is troubling me also.
No, that's really not the point. The point is that the victim must have been moved into the carriage afterwards. Then answer me this. How could a cadaver have been placed inside a moving carriage? Well, obviously,
I shall have to penalize the defense heavily for this irrelevant rambling.
Aw, okay. Ugh. I must learn to ramble more relevantly. The penalty is evidently not heavy enough, judging from those Nipponese eyes. So I ask you again. If this petty thief's words are to be believed, blah 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 blah. It's calm down, Naruhodo. There's another entrance. If the door wasn't open even once, the only explanation that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way.
Objection!
I wonder what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic. But behold, the omnibus is here for all to see. Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door, the other only has windows. Fixed windows which cannot possibly open. In short... Well, that that makes sense because, you know, they keep talking about these weird Eastern magic whenever they talk about, whenever they salt Naruhodo, so I guess that works. No, he's a dark fool because he's wearing black clothes. There is no entrance to the cabin other than the door.
Objection.
Hello, we have the skylight thing? Window? But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered. Oh, really? Yes, one other way inside that isn't the door. Another opening, the use of which allowed the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin.
All right, counsel. The defense will identify the location for the court. Here is the omnibus on which the incident occurred. Where on earth is this entrance by which you propose the victim entered the cabin?
Take that!
The answer is obvious. It can only have been the skylight.
I say, the skylight?
Rubble, 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 rubble.
Objection!
Your ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words. However...
Objection!
Oh, he interrupted him! The skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass through.
Objection!
So you claim. But do you have a shred of evidence to support your addle-brain theory? Both Mr. McGilded and Miss Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor.
Yes, which has already been explained, as the sound of the victim falling from his seat, having been assaulted with a dagger.
Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise as the witness described? A noise loud enough to cause Miss Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry, in fact.
Good gracious.
Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it.
Objection!
You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin. That's simply impossible. How can you be so sure? Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, not one person made mention of such events in their testimony. You know, this whole trial is basically just the witnesses all pointing fingers at each other. Well, yes, that's true, but...
Hold it!
I am ashamed I don't have a voice. Hold it. Might a humble fella make a wee comment here? Mr. McGilded. To be sure now, the two fellows who were sat on the roof that testify afore said nothing of the victim falling through the skylight. But it seems to me, my lord, that is not so much a case of them not saying, but...
Aye.
It is the case of them being unable to say. What? I think perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened. Would you all not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Huh? Oh my goodness, surely not. Those two chaps on the roof? Intense typing. You mean the ones who stuck that knife in the man were...
Ah! Hold it!
Just what exactly are you insinuating here, you litherer? You rotter, you said. He said, you rotter! What are you insinuating? This is a flaming outrage. I've got a good mind to give you a blinker in a minute. Like crikey. He'll give you a shinier in a minute, he said, and so will I. Mr. Fairplay, you're effectively accusing me, a city gentleman and a well-restricted banker, And me, a very angry hatter, suggesting that someone like me could have stabbed the man in the guts. It's a disgrace. It's scandalous. Ugh. I protest. I protest in the strongest possible terms. That's right, I protest too. About you, you rotten scoundrel. I don't know. He's either riding a horse or trying to mimic angry Donald Duck.
Order! 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 This is not the time, witnesses. I will not permit this wanton invasion of the stand. Return to the anteroom at once.
But this is beyond reason, my lord. It's outrageous. It's very hurtful, you know. My lord, if I may comment.
Go ahead, Lord Van Zeeks.
It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witness. My learned friend has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse the witnesses without proof. Accuse? I never intended to... It seems, young Nipponese, that your command of the English tongue is wanting. You propose to this court that the victim fell through the skylight from the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without the rooftop passengers being aware of the events. You have branded these gentlemen liars. You have intimated their criminal guilt. In our British court of law, that is what is termed a baseless accusation. Oof. I know I was rash to put this idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought.
What are we wasting time for? Get to them! Testify!
I thought there was something fishy about that hat from the moment I lay eyes on that fellow. We have to see this matter through now, one way or another.
If there's filth and rubbish in our nest, we must dispose of all of it at once.
Ooh. Ooh, testify in English. Sorry, it's so small, but it's really cool. What's happening, Mr. Naruhodo? The spectators in the public gallery they're in a complete frenzy. That was cool.
Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First.
My lord.
You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony in reference to the indictment brought by the defense.
Yes, my lord. I didn't come here for this. He's just laughing. McGilden, you ass! There's no time to think this through. All I can do is keep pushing forward. Testify! Oh dear. Refuting the accusations. We were the only two people on top of the roof deck, dead or alive. I swear to that. If anything had happened where we were sitting, don't you think one or the other of us would have noticed? In any case, neither of us know the first thing about the victim. We had no reason to kill the man. The skylight was shut the entire time, I tell you. We couldn't possibly have opened it. If you're so sure the victim fell through the skylight, where's your proof? He's really eating popcorn right now, or whatever is the Victorian equivalent of a popcorn. Wait, no, they probably had popcorn back then.
I must say that on listening to this testimony, it is somewhat hard to imagine how either witness could have performed any malevolent act on this open rooftop deck without the other noticing forthwith.
That's right. You see, we're innocent, I tell you.
Although logically, of course, the argument falls down if the two of you were in collusion with one another.
What? According to investigations by Scotland Yard, the two witnesses share no common dealings. Ha! Well, I don't trust coppers any more than I trust the stinking rich. Something doesn't feel right here. The trial is going in our favor, really. So, why do I feel so uneasy?
Counsel for the defense, over to you. Your cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. I hate this. I hate this. I'm sorry, you two, but I hate this too. God, this whole case, if you're like first time going through this, must make you really uncomfortable because, goodness. But before we do anything, you can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. Can I open it? Okay, but I want to open it. Let me open the thing! When you let me open the thing? Give me a minute. Maybe I'm not allowed to open it until I have to proceed through this testimony, but let me open the thing. Alright, fine. It won't let me open the thing now, I guess. Grumble, grumble, grumble.
Hold it!
So, at no time did the victim, Mr. Mason, climbed up to join you on the roof deck.
Absolutely not, Dickon. No question about it, he said. Not at all. Oh, but yes, of course. I remember seeing them both. I saw the victim inside the enclosed cabin talking with this man here.
I love this. I just love this when there's no context at all.
Is this true, Mr. McGilded?
Dear me, my lord, at the risk of repeating myself, I boarded the omnibus alone and nodded off inside almost immediately.
That's an outright lie. Without doubt, you were engaged in...
Let me stop you there, fella, and ask, did you have any evidence at all? At all? Tis all about evidence in the courts these days, so it is. You did well to remember that.
I saw you with my own eyes.
This is going so well. Well, it was on the final run of the omnibus, at past 10 o'clock in the evening. It would certainly have been quite dark. Perhaps too dark to see clearly?
Is this some kind of a lark? Is this some kind of a joke, he said? Is that what he said?
This is. Or perhaps one or the other of you fell asleep briefly.
Are you fair dinkum, sir? Are you serious, sir? That's what he said. It's impossible, I tell you. I'd give you the keys to the vault if you could fall asleep in that bitter cold. And if you did manage it, your eyelids would freeze shut and you'll never open them again.
That's extreme?
It was extreme, I tell you, and we had to put up with it because this man had locked the door. Any true gent would have locked it and let me in when I knocked. I'm dreadfully sorry about that, young fella. But you see, I was away with the fairies, and I didn't hear you at all. That's a lie! I saw you through the glass! You were talking to someone!
Now, 'twas a cold night, so it was. People do be seeing things that aren't real in the cold. 'Tis hardly surprising.
Seeing things? Seeing things? Miguel is just turning this upside down.
I believe we have reached an impasse here on this particular point.
You...
Don't take it personally now, lad. If I'm a suspect in this case, now 'tis only fair that you and the other fiend are too. Open and free competition is what a capitalist society is all about.
Capitalism!
This isn't a competition I should like to be involved in, really.
Hold it!
So, you had never met Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason before? Oh, Lumen, no, not once, never. He never met the man before, he said. Never. And you, Mr. First, had no prior dealings with the victim either. That's right, sir. Hatters don't have much to do with brickmakers, to be perfectly honest, sir.
No, I imagine not.
You see? How many different ways can I put this? Neither of us have the remotest connection to the gentlemen who were inside the cabin. That's right. This is about motive. We had none. No motive, And, well, that's not all, is it? Clippity cloppity clippity cloppity clippity cloppity. Are you quite certain about that? Are you quite certain about that? That the skylight was shut the entire time? I'm going to lose my block with you in a minute. He's going to lose his rag with you in a minute. That's what he said. Take a look for yourself. Go on. You see? It's shut fast now, just like it was on the night.
So it is, of course. A fellow the size of Mr. Mason could likely break through it, right through it, still and all.
What?
Just looking at the size of the thing, you understand.
Now, you hold on there a minute, sir. The size of the thing means nothing. Not on its own. Let's consider the bigger picture here, shall we? Just stop biting your cane, shall we? I was riding the omnibus on another occasion when, oh no, this is coming up. Well, I broke wind loudly, and I shocked myself with it as it happens. He farted. That seems to be a little too TMI, but you know, he farted.
This is an unexpected confession, Mr. First.
Oh, I mean to say, well, the point is, I tried to open the skylight, you see. But just my luck, I couldn't make it budge. The stench was terrible. Everyone was looking daggers at me, sir. I went as red as rogue, I did.
Are you expecting me to sentence you?
Oh, no, sir. The point is, the skylight can't be opened. I tried and tried when I was inside the cabin of shame. Gina just talked. The skylight doesn't open, you say? So that proves it. We couldn't have not kicked the victim down to the cabin below, I tell you. Neither of us could. Nobody mentioned anything about kicking anyone. Like I said, I can't. This is too much. This is so funny. Like I said, no, I can't. I kind of lost it at the fart, okay? Like I said, these details are little nuggets at best. It's the mother lode we should be looking for.
Hold it!
Proof. That's right. I demand to hear it. We came here to say what we saw, I tell you, not for this. But you call us both shysters, brand us as criminals. You called us liars, that's what he means, and accused us of doing it.
As it stands at the moment,
there's no hard evidence that incriminates yourselves now, is there? I believe we're in much the same position as one another here. Ah! This is like a session of like... crap. I just blanked out what I was gonna say. Among Us! This is literally a session of Among Us. It's a meeting. If I don't crack this case soon, he'll crack his teeth. I wonder if these two men really were involved in some way. I couldn't say. I mean, I don't really know anything about them, do I? Although, by the same token, I don't really know anything about Mr. McGilded either. It's so hard to know what to believe here. Welcome to the courtroom! I think we should try to remember that it's evidence alone that can truly determine the outcome of a trial. Evidence. No one can argue against decisive evidence, including the members of the jury. So you're saying that what we need now is to find a conclusive piece of evidence. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo, precisely. Okay, well, first we're gonna get that one. I think that one statement where McGilded had a thing to say to pursue would give me the achievement. I think it's this one.
Hold it! Well, no. Excuse me.
Mr. McGilded? Yes, Counsel. What can I be doing for you? Did the witness last statement give you pause for thought somehow? Not the remotest connection. Is that right now, I wonder? What are you insinuating now? Ah, Mr. Fairplay. That's been too long, so it has. Oh? If I'm not very much mistaken, I believe 'tis fast approaching, is it not? Your repayment debt. Your repayment date. I beg your pardon? You borrowed 20 guineas from me, sir. At an unconscionable rate of interest. You tricked me. It's extortion. Well, now, is that a touch of begrudgery, is it? That sort of begrudgery that might motivate a fella to pass his crimes off on another. Ah! And young Mr. First. Me, sir? What do you want with me, sir? You do be making hats for a living, do you not? With the top hat sliding about on your head. Is that one of your creations, is it? Oh, well, I'm still just an apprentice, you understand. I'm learning to find the perfect fit for whatever fine gent walks through the door. That's perfect. The perfect fit, is it? Well, 'tis a very distinctive design, so it is. He does need a hat pin. Many customers like it, I tell you. They like a distinctive touch. Customers such as thrice-fired Mason. Oh! There was a photographic print of the victim submitted as evidence before, my lord. Hmm? Oh, this you mean? I can't help thinking that the poor fella's hat looks distinctly familiar, wouldn't ye say? Oh! That's one of my hats. Aye, that it is. So it would seem the brickmaker was a customer of yours. The sort of customer I'd wager you could have had a wee quarrel with over the distinctiveness of the goods. Oh, no, sir. Absolutely not, sir. Well, there's really nothing more to add. It wouldn't be right to say that the two fellas here haven't the remotest connection to the victim, you see. I rest my case. They're in deep shit. You little weasel! Ugh! He's better at this than I am. Gosh, Mr. McGilda has certainly been thorough in his research, hasn't he? Look, Naruhodo would have been more thorough in his research if he knew what this whole case was about. He just walked into this trial knowing zilch. Please, don't let me, little interruption, hold up the proceedings. And there we go, we got Hat Hunter. I don't know which one it is that Gina spoke up. Oh, this is the farting one. Nope, he didn't. It's not. Oh.
That ain't.
Hey, Gina.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Miss Lestrade? I kind of like Gina's voice. From what little I heard. Miss Lestrade. It opens. The skylight. That is what we're talking about, right? All them skylights open. Dead easy. More easily than you can load that weapon? That's a lie, I tell you! Otherwise, when I broke wind, He's still on the fart! You can't do it from inside, you mug. Oh! Look, a few weeks ago, I was up on the roof deck of one of them drags. And I got a great haul. I mean, I had purses coming out me ears.
Miss Lestrade, this is not the forum to be eulogizing on the subject of your criminal activities.
Well, anyway, I had a bit of a scare. When I lifted the last bloke's purse, he got wise to me. All four of them surrounded me, so I couldn't up off the bus and leg it. So what I did was, I used the skylight, opened the catch, and jumped right through. What? Gina's song is so good. Everyone's theme is good. Yeah, the catch for them skylights is on the top side. That's why you can't open them from the cabin. The skylight opens from the roof deck?
Bailiff! Climb onto the roof of the omnibus at once and verify this witness's claims.
Ooh. Ah! Oh, my hat! See? Gina's just like, I told you. She's just like brushing on her shoulders like, yep, I totally knew this.
Order! 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 So, it appears that this street girl's statement is quite true.
I don't believe it. The skylight opens. And from the roof deck. This is too good to be true. Mr. Naruhodo, this could be the clue we've been looking for.
Well, counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. So, the skylight opens. Perhaps I should investigate for myself. Yeah. We're getting to the really serious stuff very soon. I'm gonna have to open this first. So the skylight was fastened shut before, but now the catch has been undone, so we should be able to open it. He's probably seething with rage over there. Because we're moving further and further away from the truth. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? Ugh. Okay, well, nope, we're going in. I've already read those lines. He's just frustrated right now, and I understand. And now there's blood up there. Yes, it does open very wide, doesn't it? Wide enough to kick someone like you through, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. Why did you imagine Naruhodo being kicked down? Why someone like me? What is it? Look, just there. Look at this. That's, without question, it's blood. Why would there be a blood stain there? Surely, it can't be unrelated to the case, can it? It's ketchup, guys. Wait, does ketchup even exist back then? The omnibus, the scene of the crime. There is a bloodstain visible on the frame of the skylight when it opens. I don't want to present this.
Objection!
But I gotta present this. On the night in question, the victim was fatally stabbed in the stomach. And immediately afterwards, the victim's body was pushed through the skylight into the cabin below. Those are the facts. And the irrefutable proof remains clearly visible in the omnibus that stands before us today in this very courtroom. What? That's utter humbug. You can't possibly have any evidence. No, you can't. I mean, we didn't do it, I tell you. It's impossible. Irrefutable proof. Here in this courtroom. Counsel? My lord. I believe everyone would appreciate a little clarification here, Where exactly within the omnibus is this evidence to which you alluded? You will point out what it is that proves the victim fell through the roof deck through the skylight. I don't really want to present it, sir, but...
Got it!
By Jupiter! Is that blood?
This bloodstain proves two things. Firstly, when the incident occurred, the skylight of the omnibus was open. What? And secondly, the victim was already bleeding when he fell through the opening. Oh my! And so it follows that Mr. McGilded, who was inside the enclosed cabin himself at the time, cannot possibly be guilty of this crime. No! Order!
Hold it!
Oh, he has a hold it, but the blood could have sprayed up there when the fellow was stabbed inside the cabin. And only found its way to that one particular spot on the skylight? Sure, and that would be very convenient. And let's keep it in mind that the skylight catch can only be unfastened from the roof deck. I myself wouldn't have been able to open it now, would I? But there's no way to know for certain, is there? If the gent really fell through the skylight, I mean. Why don't you have a good look at the floor of the cabin between the two seats, Mr. First? It is all too plain, if you see. There's the aftermath that shows the poor fella dropped from a fair height right there. So it is. What? No! But can't be. It's all lies! Oh, the foreman had to hold it. My fellow jury members. I think we can all agree that this is clear proof of the defendant's innocent, can we? I believe we can, yes, sir. It's clear to me now where the filthy rubbish can be found in this courtroom. Wait, they all have voices. I think. So, they thought they could pull the wool over my eyes, did they? I won't tolerate any of the guild's carriages being sullied with blood. I won't tolerate it.
Oh, I always knew that nice gentleman who gave us that delightful park couldn't have done such a thing.
On three then, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Objection!
Baroque is mad. Baroque is very mad. A chilling performance, Mr. McGilded.
Oh, and what would you be referring to now, Lord Van Zeeks?
A blood stain on the frame of the skylight. Such evidence is null and void. What? Why? Because it wasn't there, Naruto! For one extremely simple reason. That smear of blood never existed.
Objection!
What are you talking about? It's there for all to see, and it's clearly blood.
Objection!
I personally attended Scotland Yard's investigation of the omnibus. The officers involved went over the carriage with a fine-toothed comb. So I can state with absolute surety, no such smear of blood existed in the carriage. At least, not until this trial began.
But are you suggesting, Lord Van Zieks, that this stain of blood was
fabricated, my lord, yes. And while this court had been in session.
What?
What a palaver. I must say, I didn't expect such crude reasoning from a prosecutor of your standing, Lord Van Zieks. But I'm Magnus McGilded, a fella known all over the capital for his fine contributions to public life. I can't take kindly to slander, and I'll fight it to the bitter end. Even if it's rolling off the tongue of the Reaper of the Bailey. Mr. McGilded, I realize that this is your first appearance in court as the accused. However, I am well aware of your involvement behind the scenes in a great many affairs of dubious nature. You're very adept when it comes to avoiding getting your own hands dirty. And each time it happens that a case you're involved in is investigated, you adapt the facts. Adapt the facts? What does that even mean? I'm gonna need another bottle of wine for this. When you wield a fortune the size of Mr. McGilded's, however ill-gotten it may be, nothing is impossible. Tampering with evidence, manipulating the scene of the crime, bribing witnesses. You know what? Bro, talking about this is kind of funny, because traditionally, especially in the original, it's usually the prosecutors that are known for tampering, manipulating, and bribing witnesses, especially if you compare it back to the stories behind Edgeworth. Now it's just a role reverse, where the prosecution is calling out someone else as tampering and manipulating and bribing. I think that's a neat perspective of it. A toast, your ability to concoct the most convenient of stories, sir. Tut, tut, Lord Van Zieks. This will not do, to be sure. Will it now, counsel? Huh? Oh, no. I think it's fair to say this does all sound like a rather far-fetched excuse by a desperate man. The blood on the skylight didn't exist, you say? No, it didn't, and oh god. But if you will all cast your minds back, is it not true that the omnibus there has been in the courtroom the entire time? How could anyone possibly have put a smear of blood in it without the world and his wife seeing? Is that right now, counsel? There was a moment, and I have to talk about it. It's true. The omnibus has been in full view the entire time that court has been in session. My learned friend, here's to hearing your opinion on this matter in your own words. As you wish. Could someone have tampered with the omnibus during the trial? If you're asking me, I think it could have been possible. As a defense lawyer, it's my job to advocate for the defendant as best as I can. But still, I feel as though there's something even more important at stake here. There is no evidence to suggest that the defendant did as my learned friends suggest. However, he's now using the word learned friends. In terms of having the opportunity to... That's why I got confused for a moment, because I was like, am I reading Baroque's line? What? In terms of having the opportunity to carry out the alleged tampering, there is one possibility.
Oh, good gracious. Explain yourself, counsel.
I swear to God, the dialogue The dialogue going on that's Baroque's been given in the localization is just... you know what? I'll talk about it later. I don't want people to scream at me right now. Yes, there is. It seems my learned Nipponese friend has no intention of running from this deceit.
Deceit?
I'm sure everyone still remembers clearly. The recess that we were forced to take. As a result of the smoke grenade fired by the witness currently in the stand, Miss Gina Lestrade. What's going on? Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Cover your face. Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus.
I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom.
The courtroom was filled with smoke, and everyone was thrown into confusion. All of us were made to leave this chamber. In that brief interval, under the veil of smoke and in all the chaos, it could have been possible to steal inside the omnibus. Whoo! McGilda's gonna get angry in like 2 seconds.
Are you wise? What are you trying to bully, you rotten, feckless Gauger?
Feckless Gauger?
You're supposed to be defending me. 'Tis a wicked plot. 'Tis a plot to undermine me, so it is.
Objection!
Whatever you think this is, it changes nothing. The facts are the same. After this courtroom was evacuated earlier as a result of the smoke grenade, a number of inconsistencies materialized in relation to the omnibus.
Inconsistencies, such as...
To start with, the storage compartment underneath the rear passenger's seat. When the police investigated the omnibus, this compartment was full of the driver's items. Secondly, we have the smear of blood on the edge of the skylight. As I've said, that was not present at the start of the trial this morning.
Unfortunately, Lord Van Zeeks, no one is able to corroborate your claims.
That's true. When the omnibus was first wheeled out, both the storage compartment and the skylight were shut.
Accordingly, I'm afraid to say, we cannot establish with any certainty if this evidence is a result of tampering or not.
Indeed, my lord. No doubt there is not a single person who saw fit to verify such things.
What do you think, Nara? What do you think? Sorry? About the omnibus. Is there anything else unusual about the omnibus?
My lord,
Yes, Counsel?
there is one further inconsistency. A mark that surely could not have been present at the start of the trial.
What? What in the devil's name are you going to say now? If you dare to betray me, you little maggot, you better start watching...
Quiet. The Nipponese has something to say.
Silence, McGilded.
The court awaits the defense's clarification. This trial keeps swinging one way and then the other. I have no idea what's the truth and what's deception. What am I supposed to believe here?
I shall have to ask you to elaborate, Counsel. Where exactly is this alleged mark that you claimed to appear at some point during the trial?
This thing. Oh, whoops.
Got it!
If we consider that the victim fell through the skylight onto the floor of the cabin, you would certainly expect to find signs of blood where he landed. But as far as I recall, there's blood stain on the cabin floor. was not there when the omnibus was first brought into the courtroom.
Good Lord! Yes, I do believe you're correct, counsel.
Well said. Although, as advocate for the defense, one might say that was a very careless slip of the tongue. Blood! Blood everywhere! I believe that bloodstain on the floor is a decisive piece of evidence. But if the question is whether that evidence is genuine, or whether it was unlawfully fabricated by someone, I feel compelled to admit that there's at least a possibility that the evidence is fake. Ah! This trial is over. Mr. McGilded? I've done everything I possibly can to cooperate with the court, but 'tis all over now. But you're the defendant. 'Tis over, I tell ya. Oh, he's not happy. Ooh, that is not the face of an innocent man.
Memory, recollection, what people think they saw. 'Tis all nonsense.
Facts are what counts, and the fact is that bloodstain is there now. Well...
And over the course of this desperate trial, long and extremely drawn out as it's been, that good-for-nothing Reaper of the Bailey has failed to present any decisive evidence at all. I'm scandalized, so I am. I thought better of Lord Van Zeeks. Well, my lord? I must concur with the defendant. The unaffirmed recollections of an individual cannot stand as evidence. At this moment in time, the particular bloodstain in question is very much in existence, and in the absence of any credible method by which to prove its alleged previous non-existence, I regret to say that it would be improper for this trial to continue.
Your lordship can't be serious.
Lord Van Zeeks, what is your position?
Scottish pulpit. The prosecution, my lord, has no further witnesses or evidence to present.
Very well. In that case, as I believe we have explored every possible avenue in this matter, I shall proceed to my adjudication. As a formality, I am of course obliged to confirm with the defense first.
What formality? As things stand at the moment, it would seem that Mr. McGilded will be found not guilty. Yes. Which would mean we've won. Is that really the right outcome here? Is it really alright for the trial to come to an end now, with all these unexplained inconsistencies?
Counsel for the defense, your closing statement, please.
Yes, my lord. The defense believes the defendant could be... you know what? I have never seen the other option, so I kind of want to see what happens. But I'm going to load up the other one where the defendant could be guilty because I... Oh, shit! Whoops! What? Fine. I am here in this courtroom today to advocate for the defense of my client, Mr. McGilded. However, at this moment in time, I cannot in all good conscience attest fully to the defendant's innocence.
What are you saying, man?
Without any question, there is no conclusive evidence to prove that the defendant is guilty. It's okay, I'll just load it up after this case is done. However, there is also no conclusive evidence to prove that he is innocent.
Good gracious me. What is this wishy-washy defense? Order! Order! This is unprecedented behavior, counsel. A defense lawyer calling the accused's innocence into question. Are you of sound mind? Ah! Oh, 'twas a grand decision to appoint you as my lawyer. So it was. A grand decision. What? I must say, I didn't expect quite such an exciting spectacle at the end there. But still. Here, have this for your troubles. Your job here is done, fella. And some fine work you've done. So you have. What do you mean? This just as the right honorable gentleman so certainly put at fore. The trial can't go on anymore. And your closing statement there was, how did he put it now? Nothing more than a formality. Remember when I recorded this on the 3DS and he actually broke my 3DS recording? Whenever he laughed, I really don't know what to make of all this. Was the evidence we seen genuine, or was it fake? His lordship would be fuming. Any unsightly rubbish should be disposed of promptly, as I said. The stinking rich are always guilty of something, you... Mark my words, enemy knife. I feel terribly ashamed that I ever doubted that lovely man who gave us the lovely park. Now that proceedings have unfolded in this way, I am compelled to declare a premature end to this trial. Furthermore, the court must accept the defendant's plea. I thank you kindly, my lord. I hereby pronounce the verdict of this court.
Objection.
But we still haven't determined if the bloodstain in the omnibus is genuine or not. We don't know if these witnesses are telling the truth or a pack of lies. We have no idea about the truth.
Lord Van Zeeks.
My lord.
The case made by the prosecution was flawed, plain and simple. If indeed the omnibus presented as evidence was tampered with, the prosecution is at fault for allowing such a disgraceful perversion of justice to take place.
Oof. My sincerest apologies, my lord.
Objection.
But wait. When we were evacuated from the courtroom, Lord Van Zeeks ordered the evidence to be secured.
I am afraid the prosecution cannot shun responsibility in this matter.
That's so unfair. Baroque's been talking smack out here, and here's Naruhodo like, wait, this is unfair. You can't do this to him. Bless Naruhodo's soul. He's such a pure heart.
The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment.
What?
Well, Lord Van Zeeks, it's been a pleasure, so it has.
I love him. I love him so much.
And as for you, my dear fellow, I couldn't have asked for a better defense.
Do you mean to tell me this has all been a grand waste of time?
'Tis the law of the land, my good man. And you'd like to pursue this matter further, you can always go ahead and try to change the law.
Foreshadowing? Magnus McGilded.
Oh, good grief. You've more to say to me, have ye?
Just one thing. A warning. This is far from over.
Well, something to be looking forward to then.
I hereby pronounce the defendant, Mr. Magnus McGilded,
Not guilty. I don't. The confetti and fire. Oh my god! How is the courtroom not set on fire? You have flames going towards the freaking scales, and you have fireworks. I can't believe it. This is an outrage. They should have examined the evidence more. What are you talking about? The man's been cleared. He's innocent. I don't like this. I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy Case 3 when they get to it. Like new fans. Probably one of the strongest Ace Attorney trials out there. With the courtroom in pandemonium for the second time that day, the judge delivered his verdict. And my first ever trial in Great Britain came to an abrupt end. With the defendant being found not guilty, ostensibly a victory for us. Not a victory I'm happy about. I'm sure everyone coming out of this for the first time just feels very uncomfortable about that victory. Basically, it's the fourth case of justice for all, except the miracle didn't happen, ? 18 February, 5:14 p.m., the Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Ugh. I hate this.
That certainly was a long trial.
Yes, it was.
Your first ever trial on foreign soil, and your first victory. It was a wonderful performance. My heartfelt congratulations.
I don't feel like I won anything. And to you, Mrs. Otto, thank you for your assistance. I suppose we should be happy. The trouble is, we're still completely in the dark about what actually happened.
Well, we didn't have enough time.
But isn't it wrong? I mean, who was actually responsible for Mr. Mason's death? We don't even know that.
The sole aim of the defense is to obtain a verdict that exonerates the defendant. You carried out your duty to perfection.
Aye, that you did. Mr. McGilded. And that girl's with him too.
Well, it seems the stories are true.
Oh, what stories?
About the 6 enormous fireworks they do be letting off when there's a verdict of not guilty. I'm sure yous must have seen them now. Spectacular, wouldn't you say?
Yes, definitely.
I heard it was a sight to behold, and to be sure it was. And I've used to thank, I suppose, for having an opportunity to see it.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not sure I really did anything.
What on earth are you saying, fella? How did I walk out of here free man then?
I don't think it was so much thanks to me as down to your planning. Ooh.
You're a straight-talking fella, aren't ya? I must say, you had me astray in the head there once or twice. But you're young and headstrong. And there's water under the bridge.
Congratulations, Mr. McGilded, on having your name cleared.
But nothing's resolved.
There's only one thing that matters to me.
Oh?
Aye. They've all seen that I didn't do that odious and obstinate deed. 'Tis grand, is not?
I suppose it is.
Now the fine fellows at Scotland Yard can take the matters in hand and sort out any wee details. They'll see it for what it is. They'll get to the truth. I've absolute faith in them. So I have. After all, you paid them money. I gave them money so they can prove my innocence. I do be providing a good number of their wages with all the taxes I pay.
You pay taxes?
It's not that funny.
So then,
As we agreed beforehand, 1,000 guineas for your troubles, fellas. Oh, no, I couldn't possibly accept that much. It's probably dirty money.
Ara, bewist.
You're a humble people, Ari. You from the East?
You from the East.
Well, if you insist.
But have this, still in all. You deserve a reward.
Mr. Magnus McGilded. Everything is ready, sir. If you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. Into the courtroom?
What's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I led to believe.
I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule.
Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection.
Sorry? What inspection?
They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself.
They're going to examine it again? Now?
Naturally, I'm under no obligation to take part in any more of this matter now, but as an upstanding member of London society, I do be doing me best to help where I can. 'Tis gentleman's duty, so it is. So then, fare thee well. 'Twas an absolute pleasure meeting yous. I hope ye have a well of a time while you're studying here in Great Britain.
And there he goes, a free man. Oh, I forgot she was here too. Okay then, don't move. Whereas I want to say, get a move on, she really does take forever to load that thing. Miss Lestrade, would you mind putting that thing down?
You're a grown-up.
Sorry?
And I ate all grown-ups.
What'd I do?
Oh, there you are! Naughty, naughty, running off like that.
Is this some kind of picnic? Who's this little girl now?
I'm taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Ha! Oh, we want to play? I got one too. Oh, do you want to play? You won't beat me.
Excuse me, but who are you?
Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
The inventor?
Well, normal smoke grenades are so dull, don't you agree? White, white, and more white. If you had to be shrouded in smoke, it could at least be a pretty color, I thought to myself.
Do we have to be shrouded in smoke, though? At all?
I just took my eyes off it for a moment while I was changing onto a different omnibus, and she pinched it. Luckily, I fitted it with a telegraphic beacon.
What? I have no idea what this girl's talking about. Sherlock and Iris are very advanced for their time.
Anyway, you're coming with me now. Back to my laboratory.
What? What for?
To apologize, of course, silly. To my technician.
What? You mean, say sorry?
You must say sorry when you've done something wrong. Surely an adult has told you that before.
An adult? Huh, I won't listen to no adults.
Come along then. Follow me. You'll listen to a child, would you?
Fine. Have it your way.
Oh, good. You see, I knew you'd want to do the right thing in the end.
I'm fairly sure that what she wants is not to get shot by that massive gun of yours. You know who'd be a good therapist? Iris.
Well, we'll be leaving now then. Bye-bye. I'm so sorry for all the fuss.
She was a lively one.
Well, do you think perhaps we ought to be on our way now, too?
Yes, you're right. But where to?
Oh!
We haven't had time to find a place to stay. No sooner had we arrived in London than we had to rush here. All our traveling cases are still with the bailiff.
Huh. I was originally planning to spend today in search of lodgings.
But at this late hour in the day, I'm afraid we may be out of luck.
Don't worry though, I have a plan. If the worst comes to worst, I've heard of a lovely park where we could spend the night.
Please tell me you're not thinking of McGilded Park.
I know it may be a little chilly at this time of year, but our youthfulness will see us through.
Okay, kudos for optimism. I'm not so sure about that. I think a midwinter London night will freeze a young person solid just as easily as an elderly one.
Oh dear, that doesn't sound agreeable.
Now I'm starting to regret turning Mr. McGilded down. That 1,000 guineas would have paid for a lovely warm room. Or a mansion. And so, the trial to determine my worthiness for the study tour was over by the end of our first day in London. However, as we were soon to learn, there were more trying times ahead, just as the Reaper of the Bailey had warned. The case was far from over.
What's going on? Get the fire brigade! Water! Bring water, quick! What the? How did this happen?
I don't know, sir. By the time I got here, it was already engulfed.
No one was supposed to be allowed in here before we started investigating. No. Oh, good God. There's someone in there.
This can't be.
Well, goodbye, McGilded. You're definitely dead. and I'm gonna go load up the other thing again so I can see the scene where I the realm of the Reaper. That's nice.